Welcome, grammar students. Welcome to Lesson 11, The Future. In this lesson, we will learn that English does not have a special verb form for the future tense, like some other languages do. To talk about the future, English usually uses one of three different X-word verb combinations. We'll learn that these different combinations tell us in general if the action is a prediction, if it is sure to happen, or if it is someone's intention. The three ways are will plus the base form of the verb, be going to plus the base form, and be plus VING. Three forms sounds like a lot to learn, but there's good news. Although one future form may be more right than another, none is wrong. A native speaker might do it differently in this situation, but people will understand you. First, we'll look at will. This is the easiest to use and usually the first future a student learns. Will is an X word. It always matches with the base form. Will is used especially for predictions about what we think will happen in the future. Here, the fortune teller predicts that the robber will go to jail. Will is an X word, so to make a question, move will in front of the subject and add a question mark. The negative of will is special. Combine will and not to make the word won't. In this example, Kim wants a makeover. Kim's stylist predicts a big change. In this case, the future time is when the makeover is finished. Trust me, with a new hairstyle, makeup, and glasses, even your mother will not know you. This is correct, but if you change will not to won't, the sentence sounds more natural. Even your mother won't know you. Next, we'll look at be going to plus the base form. This is used especially for intentions. Intentions are plans or expectations that you will do something. Chris intends to get an A on the test. He says to himself, "I'm going to get an A on the test." Chris spends time studying, and he gets his A. Be going to plus the base is a semimodal, like have to. Remember that a semimodal is its own little package of meaning. In this case, be is the X word. Do you remember the 5 X words in the be group? Am, is, are, was, and were. Since we're talking about the future, we use the am, is, or are form of be. Going to signals the future, and the base verb names the action. Here's an example. I'm going to buy a car as soon as I graduate. It is this student's intention to buy a car right after graduation. I'm going to buy a car. The subject, I, is contracted with the X word am to make I'm. Going to signals future intention, and buy is the main verb. To make a question, move the X word in front of the subject and add a question mark. Are you going to buy a car? I'm not going to buy a car until I have enough money. To make a negative, add not or its contraction, N''T, after the X word. About the pronunciation, you have probably noticed that most Americans contract going to gonna. Look at this example. I am going to go. I is the subject, the X word is am, going to signals the future, and the main verb is go. But when we say it, I am going to go becomes I'm gonna go. I am contracts to I'm. Going to contracts to gonna. The main verb in the example is go. Careful! Gonna includes going and to. Don't repeat to. With different subjects, only the form of be changes. The subject and the be X word are usually contracted. They sound like this. She's gonna go, he's gonna go, they're gonna go. It still isn't acceptable to write gonna, but almost everyone uses it when they talk. The third way to talk about the future is be plus VING. You probably learned this form as the present continuous or the present progressive, as something that is happening right now. What are you doing? I'm studying English. But we also use be VING for future actions that are almost sure to happen, because they are close in time or because they have been carefully planned. In be VING, a form of be does the job of the X word. Remember that be has 5 forms: am, is, are, was, and were. Because we're talking about the future, the X word will be am, is, or are. The main verb is always VING. Let's look at some examples. Class is starting at 11:20 today. As always, to make a question, move the X word in front of the subject and add a question mark. Is class starting at 11:20? To make a negative, add not or its contraction after the X word. Class isn't starting at 11:20. Here's another example. I'm staying home and studying tonight. The close future time is tonight. There is one X word, am, and there are 2 main verbs, staying and studying. I'm studying grammar tonight because tomorrow we're having a test. Tomorrow is also a close future time. In this sentence, there are 2 X words, am and are, and 2 VINGs, studying and having. The X word changes because the subject changes from I to we. There are also 2 time expressions, tonight and tomorrow. Both of them are about the near future. In review, we looked at 3 common ways to refer to the future in English: will plus VB, be going to plus VB, and be plus VING. Will is often used when we are predicting what will happen in the future. For example, bye, I'll see you tomorrow. For be going to plus the base form, use am, is, or are as the X word. This form is used especially for things that you intend to do. It is very common to hear gonna replace going to, but it is still not acceptable in writing. For example, I failed the test. I'm going to study harder from now on. For be plus VING, use am, is, or are as the X word. Use this form when something is almost sure to happen and near in time. For example, we're having dinner at 8 o'clock tonight. What should you do next? Read Lesson 11, do the exercises, and practice different ways to talk about the future.